First quarter, now we in the fourth quarter, man.
It ain't the first quarter.
It ain't the second quarter.
It's most definitely not the third quarter.
What is it?
It's the fourth quarter. Welcome, New York City. We are live, almost live. We're acting like it's live, but still pre-recorded.
Always one take.
Always one take. It's early morning. We try to film before this office gets a little rowdy and you start hearing all the elevators, but I feel like we're never early enough. Someone always beats us.
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't feel that early, though, because the sun is absolutely beaming outside, which...
It's that time in New York,
It's that time in New York. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Where by the time you wake up, even when you feel like you're waking up early, the sun's already out. It seems like the day's already started. So I like it, though, you know?
No, 100%. I'm so glad that summer is here, that winter was so brutal. That means more basketball.
Yeah.
That means more hooping outside.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm looking forward to that. So last week, we got an interesting comment on one of our videos, or our video last week, from our friend Sam Berman. Shout out Sam, early underdog fantasy employee.
Yes, sir.
Leading all the brand, marketing, growth, kind of all their initiatives on that front. And we sent it to him. He's one of the close people in our circle that we sent this show to get feedback, because he's one of the most tapped in people in content that I know. And he sent us over a one-pager that I've been reviewing and trying to iterate and build off of our show. Then he made a comment on our YouTube saying, "Can't believe this content is free." I don't even have
Yo, love you, Sam.
Yeah,
I
Sam,
appreciate
you're
the
man.
love. And remember, the content's always going to be free. It's always going to be accessible. We want to make sure that sports business is by far something that everyone can tune into.
Yeah,
not only the elites and the decision makers in this industry.
I agree. And Sam, thank you, man, for your feedback. We're incorporating it. I think you had a lot of interesting takes, and honestly, ones that I agree with a lot. So hopefully, as you see the progression, you'll see more of your feedback being like, okay, these guys are actually improving and working on the content. But you're right. We're most definitely for the people. We're not gatekeeping. I feel like some people have already, yeah, thank you, producer Pablo. I feel like some people have already started taking shots at us, some legacy players.
I know. But
I'm
hey,
not going to say their name.
But hey, that's the name of the game. And look, we haven't even fully launched yet. Honestly, no one really knows that we have this long form content. Our short form videos have been doing pretty well. But if you want to get a full deep dive, or kind of just our entire discussion about these topics that you're seeing on our short form, I'm telling you, this podcast is it.
Yeah, and giving more background kind of behind the scenes of how we are building the company and this show and this media business is, I think, something that I want to do better. And by the time this comes out, I hopefully believe, fingers crossed, I think we'll have 1 million views on socials, on Instagram in particular, over the last couple.
We're very close.
Days.
We're very close to it.
So I think, hopefully I don't jinx myself, but I think we're tracking that way.
I love it. Let's keep going. Let's get fired up here.
No run of the show this time. I'm going to jump right in. Producer Pablo is going to throw up the graphic. We need to talk about enhanced games as our headline story. We talked about it a little last week, and we talked about it prior. You know, they went public recently, but they just had their first event. So they went public via SPAC, and then basically the market didn't know how to price the stock. Then they had their debut event in Las Vegas this past weekend. We tapped in, we tuned in. We thought it was interesting. We told our friends about it, so we had a little watch party. But I'm not saying it was bad. I want to get your honest thoughts. But the market definitely thinks it didn't live up to the hype because the share price is hitting an all-time low. We'll get into
I heard
that.
the share price went down around like 80% or something.
No.
Or like it's something like really, really ridiculous.
Is that right?
I believe so. I think it might be like the stock might have gone down.
No, it cratered 43%.
Oh, 43%. Sorry.
Post-debut, yeah.
Post-debut.
Right.
Not 83, sorry. But 43% post-debut, which is quite significant. Here's the thing. The marketing was great because the actual concept itself, it's so insane and bizarre. But I think it's something that really gravitates towards a lot of young people, and a lot of people are interested in seeing athletes that are either, I guess, roided up. Really, they're just enhanced by PEDs, and they're taking peptides. And at the same time, these are Olympic-level athletes, some that were former Olympians, former gold medalists that are partaking in this event. And so it really got a bunch of people involved in tuning in.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know what Enhanced Games is a new Olympic-style competition that you were saying. With one radical twist, the athletes are actually allowed to take PEDs, peptides, HGH. They're encouraged because the whole point is to see how far you can push human limits, right? And this past weekend, the steroid Olympics actually did happen. Peter Thiel is a backer. Donald Trump Jr. is a backer. Some interesting money, right? And they just went public via SPAC. They had at a $1.2 billion valuation. The purse was about $25 million in prize pool. So it's $1 million, I believe, if you break a world record. And then if you get first place in an event, it's $250,000, all the way to seventh place getting $20,000, right? That's compared to the Olympics where there's no standard compensation. I don't know if you saw this recently, and I believe from New Zealand, but there was an Olympic kind of committee member of a country that came out and said, we don't believe in paying athletes. But the U.S., it varies country by country, but the U.S. pays their gold medalists around $38,000, $38,500, which is wild. That's the discrepancy, right?
And it's a real incentive, honestly,
Yeah.
for a lot of especially older athletes that know that they're past their prime. They might not be able to get that gold medal, that same allure that it was when they were younger, when it's hey, I'm training specifically to get a gold medal. That those days are past me, but at the same time, I'm very much focused on becoming the best athlete that I can. And can we do it in a much more safe way? And at the same time, make a lot of dough.
Yeah. And the record and the result that happened, there was just one broken world record. Okay. And it got broken by swimmer in a banned suit. So meanwhile, clean athletes were beating doped ones. In the
banned suit, meaning that swimsuit can't be used in the Olympics.
I'll touch on that.
Okay.
Exactly. It was I wrote down the name. It's a very interesting fiber and cloth that's banned, and Wall Street watched, of course, and they did the math, and then they torched the stock. So the stock is down 43%, like we mentioned. So Greek swimmer Christian Gokolomiv, I believe I'm saying his name right, swam the 50-meter freestyle in 20.81 seconds, 0.07 seconds faster than the World Cup mark, and he earned the $1 million bonus. It did not officially count, like you were mentioning, because it sits outside the World Aquatics jurisdiction, and that swimmer and swimmers in general wore a polyurethane super suit, which has been banned since 2010. So I think it makes you more aqua dynamic or something like that. So it's not an official world record standard by standard compared to the Olympics, but he did break a world record.
Which I feel is kind of a fumble from enhanced game standpoint. Why are you using those swimsuits when you want a lot of the credit to go to the peptides and the PEDs that you're, cultivating and helping these athletes use to break their personal best and achieve those world records, right? Because one thing that a lot of people don't know and is really important to understand about this specific league is that it's not just the media property. They're actually selling peptides and PED products through their telehealth portal. So at some point in time, that's going to be the real, that's what Wall Street is really evaluating.
Yeah, so it's a consumer products and healthcare telehealth business, and then the marketing and distribution function of the sports league, right?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting concept. So yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you.
But do you think the marketing from the enhanced games, the actual game itself, was strong enough to get people interested to use a telehealth product?
Okay, so let me get to it before I give you my take. So Fred Curley won the 100-meter sprint in 9.97 seconds, worse than his personal best, but he still won, and he was non-doped. Okay, so that's an interesting thing. He beat doped athletes. He was non-enhanced, I should say, not doped. Or undoped. And then James Magnuson, kind of the first big name to sign, he was blowing up online because he was huge compared to when he was swimming in the Olympics. And he vowed to be the most juiced athlete, I believe, juiced to the gills is what someone said online. And he finished last in the 100-meter freestyle, okay? And then clean athletes, including Olympic gold medalists, Hunter Armstrong, won 3 events outright. So it was pretty neck to neck. I would have thought the whole point of this was just these juiced athletes and these enhanced athletes were just going to absolutely destroy
all the world records,
Exactly.
Which was how it was marketed. One thing that I will say, though, is what's actually funny about Magnuson is that apparently he got so juiced and gained so much weight that he wasn't even buoyant in the water. He was literally sinking. Brian Armstrong was commentating about this. Dude was literally he was so big, and if you actually the swimsuit doesn't even fit him. It's wild. But he had to cut a ton of weight because he literally couldn't swim. But one thing that I will say is that I think the way that it was marketed was a big promise, and so it got a lot of people to tap in. But one thing that I will say is really impressive is that a lot of these athletes that were using PEDs actually were hitting their PRs. And a lot of them are former Olympians that haven't been in some of these Olympic level competitions for, 8 to 10 years. They've been out of the game, or not only out of the game, they've been past their prime. And so, for example, Megan Romano, she beat her personal best for the 50-meter freestyle time. And her last personal best was 13 years ago. She's 35 years old now. So I think that's what really the marketing should have been, because you can see a lot of these older people who are like, hey, like I want to be back in my athletic prime. Maybe, they're in their 30s, their 40s, and they're, just debating between whether taking peptides or they didn't know about taking peptides. This would have been that gateway for it. But now they're looking and expecting all these, juice or PE enhanced athletes that are just going to break world records, which I think was like a pretty, not like outlandish promise, but it was a big promise that they under-delivered on, but you can expect that,
yeah,
right?
I don't think it's like a promise, right? I believe it was something that happened where it should have been marketed better. That the real impressive feat is not all these enhanced athletes destroying all these world records. It's all these enhanced athletes out of their prime that are keeping up with the prime, right? And that are keeping up with the best of the best. I think that was the really interesting thing. The broadcast, there were some production issues. It was free across YouTube, Rumble, and Kick. Had 800,000 views. No traditional TV partner. Free across Roku, of course, and Twitch. And yeah, the enhanced, just to give some more financial analysis on the stock. So it went public on the NYSE under the ticker ENHA on May 8th through a SPAC merger. Valued the business at $1.2 billion. It spiked at an all-time high at $14 on May 6th, pre-event. And then on Tuesday, May 26th, the first day after the long weekend, so the first day of possible trading after the event that happened this past weekend, shares fell 43%, close to $3, roughly 3 cents, an all-time low, wiping out almost $800 million in market value.
Also, I think the 83% that I was referencing was from their all-time peak to their all-time low. Yeah.
But no, it's like peak is down 75 to 80%.
80%.
Roughly. Yeah. So wild. Enhanced also officially had $32 million in aggregate sponsorship value. So we were looking when we were watching the broadcast, who are the big sponsors that are, going to be a part of this? I think a lot of big brands are probably afraid to put their name on this.
Yeah.
Because of the stigma surrounding it. But it's interesting.
You're essentially losing out a potential partnership with the IOC and the Olympic Committee, right?
Committee, yeah.
So I think, and also maybe other sports leagues that might not be, that are more aligned with the Olympics and wouldn't want to, be associated with anything enhanced games related. So I think like sponsorship dollars is going to be a really tough road for them to go on.
Would you buy peptides and vitamins from Enhanced?
Well, if they told me what these athletes were on, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
Like you can't, a lot of it might be like HIPAA violations, but like essentially you don't know how enhanced these athletes are. I feel like if we actually knew what their stack was, whether it was like their supplements, their peptides, all the products that they were using that were enhanced games sold, I think that would be such a great like integration that they would have where it's 100%. Like, oh my God, I love that athlete. They just hit their personal best. They're in their 30s, and I know that they're using this peptide for inflammation. They're using this peptide, whatever. It's always a bunch of letters and numbers. I don't know any of the names really, but if we knew what they were using for longevity, inflammation, strength, related to the work, endurance, to the exercise that they're doing, right? Like especially the strength training athletes. It'd be nice to know what they're using to boost their strength and what peptides they're using specifically. I think that would have been a game changer
and
integration.
100% agree. And I think also an overlay of who was enhanced versus non-enhanced. Sometimes we're looking at it and we're like, okay,
you don't know who's enhanced
unless you're listening to the commentary,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
And then also I think storytelling goes in really closely with what you said with the stack overlay. Like you could give story behind, this athlete stopped competing because they got into this terrible injury or whatever, and they got on this stack, and now they're competing, beating their personal best from when they were in their prime 10 years ago. So something like that I think would have been really interesting. Enhanced folks, if you're watching this, I still believe in you. Wall Street might have other opinions, but
we got some more crazy marketing ideas that we'd love to pitch you guys.
Yeah,
because I do think that there's something here. I think the stock is obviously down significantly. But there's really big potential, especially in the peptide space, and then using this as your go-to-market.
And we should do a show, hopefully,
at the next
event.
Enhanced game. Yeah,
that would be cool. Okay, moving on to the cultural sports headline. Kyle Kuzma has been the internet buzz for the last 2 weeks at the intersection of tech, investing, sports, culture, you name it. Cultural zeitgeist for sure. So Kuzma's ex, previously dormant with standard athlete content, pivoted hard into startups, AI prediction markets, and VC commentary. He also tagged CEO Sam Altman, saying that he's going to be on TBPN. That's unconfirmed as of right now. And that's literally what kicked off this vicious cycle and of virality. So Kuzma announced that he's going on TBPN, and then he's saying that he was breaking his silence soon to discuss the future of AI, autonomous defense, robotics, and biotech and energy infrastructure. And we are still saying, he's quoting him, we are still in the early innings of American dynamism, which I think is fascinating. Kyle Kuzma is professional NBA player, of course, for those of you that don't know. He also said some other viral things. So he posted a screenshot of a $36,000 wager on reality TV figure Spencer Pratt to win the LA mayoral race. And
he's getting into everything, politics, tech, but honestly, you gotta love it.
And he said, for my parlay puppies, I'm going big on Spencer Pratt. And then Spencer Pratt replied, calling it a smart bet. He's also an investor in Kalshi to disclose that, right? Kuzma also responded to former DraftKings president Matt Kalish, posting that DraftKings parlays hold runs like 25 to 40%, or limit or ban anyone who shows skill, and funnel casuals into boosted props engineered to lose. It's interesting. He's taking shots, right? And I think a lot of people were saying that someone was ghostwriting his tweets, but he's actually hilarious. You showed me a tweet. I don't think we can put it up because it was a little vulgar before the show, but we were dying laughing. He's embracing kind of the commentary of people being like, what is this NBA player talking about? Or what is he talking about? Because it's talking about pretty technical things. I think it's pretty fascinating. Just for more context for you. So Kuzma began angel investing in 2020. His portfolio includes Lemon Perfect, which is the lemon water. I don't know if you've ever had that, by the way. It's actually
I've actually never had Lemon Perfect.
It's pretty good.
Before.
I've had it. So they raised a $6.6 million seed in 2020 and later raised nearly $70 million. Surf, which is a consumer data company. Bezel, which is a watch marketplace company, which I think is really fascinating. One of our hopeful future sponsors, right? And CB Insights also said Orion Sleep, so this smart sleep mattress competitor to 8 Sleep. He's also co-founded Barcode and fashion line Childhood Dreams. And then he also, in 2024, he teamed up to be an advisor to Scrum Ventures Sports Entertainment $120 million fund. Shout out to Michael and Akira, who we met at Super Bowl there. They're longtime readers of the fourth quarter.
So this is really interesting because you just listed out his portfolio, and a lot of it was consumer driven, which is typically the athlete portfolio that you see, where a lot of athlete investors, they have clear synergies in regards to marketing and go-to-market / distribution for a lot of these consumer products. And so they're like they're like the ideal candidate to be investors there, right? But what's interesting about Kuzma is that he's actively tweeting about deep tech and what the future is there. And like, I got to read this tweet because it's actually like went nuclear. He was like, three things I'm underwriting hardest in 2026. AI applied to industrial throughput, autonomous defense and space robotics. 3, the clinical stage biotech where AI compresses trial timelines. Everything else feels crowded. Oh, and also energy infrastructure. So many AI names, so many chip companies, need power output, safe bet, handshake emoji.
Shout out Kuzma. Do you think that's him?
I think it's him.
I actually think it's him.
I got to see him on TBPN and like how, because like here's the thing. I think that there's on X, like especially major platforms, LinkedIn. I mean, we talked about like Athletes Pen, right? Like there's a lot of like contribution that's going on building athletes platforms on some of these like business social media platforms like your X and your LinkedIn. At the same time, that happens also in VC for CEOs, right? So it's everywhere. But I do think that the way that he speaks on X, there's a level of authenticity that like I just believe it's him. And when he's on TBPN, we'll see like what is he looking at? What are the startups that he's actually like tuning into? When he talks about space robotics, are there any on his radar that he wants to be an investor in? I know that he retweets Varda, which is a founders fund startup that's in the space, space related
Space tech.
technology. And so I think that it's probably him. Just got to see like him actually speaking about it, and not just like on tweets and stuff.
Yeah, I've heard he's pretty tapped into this space, so I do think it's him. And he also responded to us, right?
Yeah, he responded to us before he went on his tweet.
We were part of the early innings, I
Yeah.
think, of his virality, which I think is cool. He posted this on a story. He disagreed with us, and then kind of shouted us out on a story a little bit, saying he got something cooking up.
We essentially were saying that athletes do have a level of deal flow that's very much more distinguished than anyone
regular
else's
people, yeah.
than the regular people.
But he
And it was-
said not all athletes.
He said not all athletes. Our main focus was like the athletes that have
Tier
a
one.
public persona, tier one in a sense. And so what he was actually saying or shouting out was that he's building a platform for athletes to get deal flow and access to some of these like top tier private companies.
Fascinating. Shout out Kuz. Come on the show. Invite whenever you want. In team and league news, we have one story that I had to pick one story, and I think this is the most fascinating. Here's a deal that tells you everything about where sports business is going in 2026. Gucci, yes, that Gucci, the luxury brand, just became the first luxury fashion house ever to title sponsor a Formula One team for the next season. Alpine F1 races as Gucci Racing, and the reported value of that deal is north of $150 million over 3 years, so $50 to $60 million per year, roughly. Gucci becomes the title partner of the Alpine F1 team starting in 2027 via F1 World Championship. The official team name is going to be called Gucci Racing Alpine Formula One Team. Kind of a lot to say right there.
They just
right?
took the name too. Let's go.
Yeah. They said Alpine wasn't going to take the name off of it. They were going to have their name on there as well. So they're going to adopt Gucci's colors, which I think is fascinating. Reports pointing to Gucci's iconic green and red stripe, and of course black and gold, and they're removing the current backer BWT's pink and blue colorway. I think is pretty fascinating. That's the iconic color for them, I feel like. So like I said, the deal length is about $150 million over the course of 3 years, and there's also including performance incentives. And the reports say for the car, Gucci wanted as much real estate on the car as possible, which, okay, cool. You're the title sponsor. You should be entitled to that, I feel like.
Yeah.
But here's where I think it's interesting. Alpine is a part of a strong 2026 run, right? They've risen from the bottom of the 2025 rankings to 5th in the Constructors' Championship, mostly led by Pierre Gasly and Franco Colapinto. But it's interesting, this tier one luxury brand going for kind of the middle of the pole, kind of middle of the pack car brand in Formula
performing
One.
team. Yeah. I would say, so here's the way that I look at this. I think that Gucci's actually taking a much bigger swing than people think.
Okay, tell me.
Like I'm
Why?
honestly, I'm agreeing with you, but at the same time, I'm honestly amplifying it as well. I think that, so for example, Alpine, they've been struggling recently in F1 just overall.
Well,
They're actually-
they've been better than last year. to
They've
be
been
fair.
better, yeah, but like, I mean, 5th place is also pretty good. Honestly, like they've been performing like decently.
Fifth place is good.
Still middle of the pack, but here's the thing. Gucci isn't going to get as much exposure through any other F1 team,
That's
especially if it's a luxury car. Like why would Mercedes want all their F1 car to be covered in Gucci? That wouldn't make any sense because they're marketing their cars, right? Here, I think this is a clear opportunity to take a big swing for Alpine, but it's a big swing because Alpine has struggled before. They're actually going through a sales process right now. Christian Horner is the former F1 Red Bull principal.
Yep.
Very accomplished. He's actively building a consortium to buy a major stake in Alpine and take Otro Capital's stake. Now we don't know if it's going to be a full majority controlled share change or it's going to be just taking out that minority stake. But look, this is an asset that's actively being evaluated, right? Gucci obviously can bring up that brand, bring up the brand value of Alpine, but if Alpine struggles for the next 2 to 3 years, can that bring the brand value down of Gucci? Right now, Gucci has full branding of a race car in Formula One, where everyone's eyes are on it, especially when it comes to car racing and luxury, and at the same time, all of that mixed together. And if they're failing, that could be bad for the brand. But at the same time, if they do extremely well, it's great for Gucci. And I've seen that their share price has actually been on a decline. Their revenue growth is stagnating. I think it's on a decline as well. I think that this could be a really big move for them. It just depends on like how Alpine performs.
Yeah, I actually agree that this is a smart move in terms of getting value for branding. Also, Formula One is a luxury sport as itself, so tying the luxury with luxury, I think, it generally makes sense from a context standpoint. You said Gucci isn't doing well financially. Yeah, they're down 10% Q4 2025. Kering booked nearly a 30 million euro net loss for 2025. Shares down 60% over the last 2 years. Gucci sales fell 25% in Q1 of 2025. Spending $150 million on a racing team, I don't know. Maybe it'll lift it up. But here's the interesting thing: F1's commercial boom is real. Sponsorship roughly generates 19% of revenue. Total F1 sponsorship spend projected to rise from $2.5 billion last year in 2025 to nearly $3 billion this year. I think you're just going to continue seeing these heavy hitter brands come in. I like the move from like a fan.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's like, dang, Gucci got a racing
I also
team.
think the car is going to look slick.
Okay, do you think there's going to be a luxury line of consumer products and like luxury wear that's like sporty but Gucci?
So that's where I think the opportunity is.
Yeah.
I just hope that Alpine really performs well. I mean, they got racers like Pierre Gasly who can perform.
You think Pierre Gasly and like these racers are going to be people and models for Gucci? That would be pretty cool.
Oh, for sure. I think Pierre Gasly
in
will
runways and
absolutely be
stuff?
a Gucci ambassador. I mean, I don't know if he's on the runways, but I will say he will definitely be an ambassador of the product. And I definitely think that they can build out like a more luxury, sporty fashion line that aligns well with the F1 Alpine Gucci brand. I just hope that they perform well, because if Alpine, let's say, I mean, sometimes this happens with like middle pack, bottom of the pack cars that aren't able to get to like that top tier echelon, like McLaren, like Mercedes, like Red Bull, like Ferrari. If that's the case and they are continually on a decline, I think that this sponsorship will actually backfire more than it benefits. So I'm fingers crossed. I got fingers crossed for this. I really want it to work out.
I'm bullish though. I don't know. Maybe there's some things like that where performance is tied, but I'm pretty bullish.
No, but I
I'm
like big
excited to
swings
see.
though. I
Yeah.
like big swings. I just hope it works out, you know?
All right, moving on to sports real estate. I'm gonna rapid fire this. You chime in when you need to. I just think sports real estate is blowing up. The fact that we have a dedicated section, I feel like this is another thing recurring. Every week we're getting so many sports real estate deals that we need to cover.
multiple deals a week.
Yeah. Okay, so this one in particular, 4 that we wanted to cover. 2 of them in Tampa.
Yeah.
So shout out Tampa. I've never been, but seems to be growing from a sports lens and just a city lens in general. The first, MLB's Tampa Bay Rays, an ownership group led by Patrick Zalupski, closed a $1.7 billion purchase in 2025 of last year. And now their preferred site to build a new stadium is 113-acre Hillsborough Collegedale Mabry campus in Tampa, right across the Dale Mabry Highway from Raymond James Stadium. Raymond James Stadium is where the Tampa Bay Bucks normally play, who we'll talk about next in a second, because they're also going through a big process. So the project is roughly about $2.3 billion for a 31,000-seat ballpark, targeting opening day in 2029. The Rays and the Hillsborough County government agreed to preliminary terms, and the Rays are also kind of like a baseball story right now. To be fair, I'm not a huge MLB guy, but they were 33-15 through late May, and which is the best record in MLB, and with the 3rd lowest payroll, which I think is pretty impressive. Tell me, does the 31,000 seem a little low in terms of seating?
31,000 seating.
Because didn't we say the Padres had way more?
And the Padres consistently sell out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, remember the Padres, that's the only stadium that's really in San Diego.
Yeah.
Right? Like
true.
from like a major sports perspective.
That's
Tampa
true.
Bay, you got the Bucks.
And
you
right
got
across the
Rays.
street is the
exactly
Bucks,
right across the street
Okay.
as well. Now here's the thing. I think that obviously like a $1.7 billion purchase is a big deal, but at the same time, look, baseball overall, you have plenty of games. It's a very, very long season. I think Tampa Bay Rays, I'm not like the biggest baseball fan in the world,
We got to tap
but
in more, man.
We do have to tap in more, especially when
we got the Braves.
We got the
too.
Braves too, and the Braves are playing really well this year.
I mean, of course, and we have every iconic. We have the Yankees here in New York too.
Yeah,
so.
Yankees. The Mets, I think, are not doing so well this year. That's what
No,
a lot of people have been
I'll still go
complaining
see
about.
them though.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's Producer Pablo. That's your team, right? That's the Mets.
Is the
right
Mets
there?
your team?
From Queens?
I'm more of a Yankees guy.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
Padres Stadium seat number.
Yeah. Give me the rundown on that.
I'll give you the number on this. Oh my God. Seat total.
Yeah, I definitely want to see
39,000.
Okay, so close.
So it's pretty close.
So, okay.
Attendance capacity can be up to 42,000.
Okay. And then NFL stadiums are way bigger in the 60, 70, 100 range.
So 11,000 more than Tampa. I mean, San
That makes
Diego
sense.
Padres are consistently selling out. I think it's pretty online there.
Okay, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are seeking a $1 billion renovation of Raymond James Stadium. The team proposes paying 1/3, with the public covering 2/3. About half of that money would go towards a sunshade for the brutal early season Florida heat that happens, right?
Okay.
And the franchise has roughly until January 2027 to extend its lease before it expires in 2028, and rent would double from $3.5 million to $7 million under the extension terms. And this is happening right across from the new Rays proposed ballpark. So pretty
Good for
fascinating.
Tampa.
Yeah, good
Good
for
for
all the
Tampa. Let's
people,
go.
all the
Yeah.
residents in Tampa and sports fans there. Chicago Bears, I think this is a little more interesting in terms of drama. Chicago Bears want a new stadium. They've given up building one inside the city of Chicago itself, saying that there's no site that actually works. So now it's down to two options. The first is Arlington Heights, Illinois. It's a northwest suburb of the city. The Bears already own the land, which they bought in 2023 for nearly $200 million. To make this work, Illinois lawmakers need to pass a bill that gives the Bears a huge tax break, so roughly $39 million a year, more than $1.5 billion over 40 years. And the state legislature has to decide by this weekend, May 31st. Right now it's stuck and might not pass. So we'll see. But option two, it's not in Illinois. It's actually in Indiana, Hammond, Indiana, just over the state line. Indiana already passed its law and put real money on the table. The Bears would pay $2 billion to build the stadium. Indiana would chip in $1 billion in public financing, and after 40 years, the Bears could go buy the whole stadium for $1, which I think is fascinating, right? But here's the thing:
Pretty awesome deal.
Yeah, but if the team does move to Indiana, the Chicago Bears are still going to be named the Chicago Bears,
as they should be. The Indiana Bears wouldn't sound right.
It's the same way the New York Jets or the New York Giants play in New Jersey, actually. I'm not blanking on the name.
MetLife Stadium.
MetLife,
Stadium,
that's right.
yeah.
It was literally just there. And here's the kicker though, right? Like Hammond is actually closer to Soldier Field where the Bears play than Arlington Heights. So I guess it's for the fans and people that actually live there that want to attend Bears games. Maybe being in Indiana isn't that bad. You get like the public, you get all the fan and the excitement of having the sports team right there. The public in Indiana is financing it, the other state.
Yeah. So I'm going to give my quick take here.
Okay.
Bears fans definitely want it to be in Chicago. Easy access to the stadium.
Pride in the city as well,
It's a
right?
major city. Like you would expect like a major city like that to have their football stadium in the city. And so I think that's what they're looking for. But at the same time, there's a lot of residents that were like actively protesting against it. They were going to put the stadium in the waterfront, and that's like considered like a public landmark that a lot of residents wanted to preserve. Probably residents that were couldn't care less about sports overall. So commercial value that would have been extremely high, but they had to give that up. Arlington Heights, I know that's the one in Illinois that they want to build in, and they actually own that real estate as well. But here's the thing, that they are essentially playing a very fun game by putting Illinois and Indiana head to head to who will give more public funding. That's just the reality of how sports works nowadays, is that a lot of these sports teams, their management understands that public funding is, one, extremely important in regards to financing these new like mixed-use sports real estate districts, but also that public funding is inevitable because governments are willing to do it because you're bringing in so much jobs at the same time, so much economics, right? If it's in Hammond, Indiana, all the sales tax is going to Indiana, right? It's not going to Illinois. So it's a long-term investment for them. And so now they can play this card where it's like, hey, we're on the border here. who's going to give us more money? Is it going to be Illinois or Indiana? And whoever is willing to do it wins. Same thing that happened with Kansas City, with Missouri and Kansas for Kansas City, and now they're leaving Arrowhead Stadium, and they're building a new one in Kansas. So I think that's just the way it works. A lot of people are like, but at the same time, if you can get more free money, free in quotation marks, why not?
Yep. Stan Kroenke, moving on. Stan Kroenke owns the LA Rams and built SoFi Stadium, and he's also in another battle with the city of Inglewood. He wants the city to pay $400 million. They said they would pay, that they haven't fulfilled on. He himself put up $5 billion and paid for the whole thing to build the most expensive stadium ever built. No taxpayer money. The unusual thing is most taxpayers usually chip in. The public usually finances it. But he also fixed up the area around it, roads, sewers, that kind of infrastructure. He says that back in 2015, the city of Inglewood signed a deal promising to pay back for some of that work. Now he's asking the city for about $400 million, saying he's owed. The city is refusing, saying that the 2015 deal doesn't count anymore somehow because there's some weird loophole or discrepancy around court ruling throwing out agreements saying it was a voter ballot measure rather than like a actual, I don't know, government passed, like city passed legislature, which I think is interesting, saying the city doesn't pay. But here's the weird part. Just this last May, the city paid Kroenke's company $20 million as a partial down payment for that reimbursement, and only later turned around saying that the whole agreement was invalid. So they paid on a deal that they now claim was invalid, which I think refutes the city's claim. I don't know. Interesting. We'll keep tabs on it, see if it develops any further. But as the World Cup comes, it's something that they have to resolve in 2027, or in 2026, and then Super Bowl in 2027.
Dang, $400 million. It's a lot.
Yeah. He's doing okay, though. We shouted him out. He's a $23 billion sports empire. Okay, moving on to the world of M&A and major investments. Travis Kelce acquired a minority stake in the MLB's Cleveland Guardians. Shout out Travis. He is that hometown hero that came back.
A legend. A
legend for sure, that ended up going back to buy a stake in his pro baseball team. So he's the three-time Super Bowl champ, future Hall of Famer, Taylor Swift's future husband, and now he's becoming a prolific investor. So he has stakes in Alpine F1, which we just said, now soon to be Gucci Alpine racing team, right? Six Flags. He took an activist stake to turn around Six Flags.
Yeah, he partnered up with a hedge fund.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jana Partners.
Jana Partners.
Yeah. We covered this a while ago in a very popular newsletter of ours. I feel like that went pretty viral. He also has Garage Beer, which him and his brother on their New Heights podcast kind of put out and endorse. And then they also have a $100 million podcast deal, New Heights, which has been popping up. I think they've really mastered clipping. So yeah, I think it's pretty fascinating. He's also in Sleep Number, has less than a 5% stake reportedly. And then Cholula, he had a stake. Was that through Patrikoff?
That might have been through Patrikoff. Yeah,
Patrikoff
because they do a lot of consumer investments,
and they were an early investor in Cholula, and he exited that obviously when McCormick bought Cholula for $800 million. Shout out Travis.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, one thing that I do want to say is that this is probably his biggest piece of investment yet, right? This is a long-term investment into your basically like hometown baseball team. I think this is like exactly what, athletes should be striving for if they can get access to this type of deal flow. This is like next tier, upper echelon, where like even billionaires are fighting to get access to these deals, and really professional athletes can take advantage of these opportunities when their contract values are high enough where they can participate in these deals. So pretty awesome that he gets to be a part of his hometown baseball team.
Yeah. He gets to bond with his coworker, Mr. Quarterback himself, Patrick Mahomes, because he's also part owner of his Kansas City Royals, I believe, MLB team. So that's a thing. Travis also in the Guardians shares a cap table with David Blitzer, legendary investor in sports.
And here's the thing. Yeah. I think at some point in time, he's got to get a stake in the Cavs.
That would be really cool.
That's got to be next.
Dan Gilbert has to make that happen, huh?
Yeah.
So does LeBron. I feel like that would be really cool.
I think that will happen.
You think that'll happen?
I think LeBron will own a stake.
We're gonna clip this when that happens.
Yeah, because I don't think he's not trying to buy the Vegas franchise. So like, I don't know if he's actually like in it to buy a full blown like NBA team. why not just get a stake? In
That'd be
the
some like
Cleveland Cavs?
Michael
And-
Jordan or like Magic Johnson type stuff, right? That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, in the world of new fund alerts, fund alert.
What week is this in a row?
12.
12. Week
12 straight weeks of new funds in the sports space. Huge. Can you believe that's a thing? I was a little nervous. I was like 12. I don't know if we're going to get to 12. And it happened.
It did happen.
Okay.
Yes.
Gary Lineker, yes, the match of the day guy, just turned his podcast empire into a venture investing firm. Goalhanger, the company behind The Rest is History and The Rest is Politics, launched Goalhanger Ventures this past week. And the first two checks tell you exactly where they're focusing and where the puck is moving. They took an equity stake in Invisible Media, the team behind Econ Explainer channel, The Invisible Hand. Candidly, have not watched that, so I need to tap in there.
Haven't watched it either.
And a commercial partnership with Backyard Cricket, a couple of brothers who started filming garden cricket during the lockdown.
I
don't know
have
if
seen
you,
this.
dude,
I have
I
seen
love
this.
this.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. Someone who we both played a little bit of cricket growing up.
And we played
with
it in our
friends.
backyards.
In our
We did-
backyards, yeah, testing it. Yeah, it was really fascinating. And, it's interesting because this podcast company took outside money from Peter Chernin, as in the Chernin Group,
And that was like recently. I'm pretty sure that was like
in
the last
January.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, and is now deploying as strategic investments. So the deal one, obviously Invisible Media, they took an equity investment. The amount was undisclosed, but I think they're creating new formats in the pipeline, like the Invisible Game, some other stuff that's happening. Deal two, Backyard Cricket, it's a commercial partnership, so it's not necessarily an equity stake. Goalhanger is supposedly providing funding and strategic support for production, longer form videos, and sponsorship and merch and things like that. So
Yeah, why not leverage their platform to help out a lot of these other smaller media companies or media companies / creators that they know that they have the talent, they know they have the capability, they just need the production, they just need the expertise, they need the strategic partnership or the network and the connections that Goalhanger and Goalhanger Ventures can facilitate. And so I think this is something that we're going to see a lot more often. Media companies have a huge moat because they understand attention really well and they understand distribution.
Yep.
What's really their focus now from a venture standpoint is what's the best talent? What's the best product out there that not many people know about just yet, but can blow up if they, get the right direction and the right partner. And so this is such a smart idea by them. I think you continually make small bets. I like the commercial partnerships. You don't always have to do equity investments. Sometimes it can get a little bit messy when you have an equity investor coming into a creator very early on because it can misalign incentives. But I think overall, this is such a great strategy, and we're going to see a lot more of this, especially from these new creators that have popped off and are now fully platformed.
is that for foreshadowing? Are we alluding to something?
Are we alluding to something?
No,
I
nothing
don't
in
know.
the works, but I think that would be a goal, right?
That would be awesome. I mean, honestly, business media is such a big thing.
It's popping off right now.
I know. And so, I mean, I think there's always an opportunity for a lot of these different niches to have their own, business comms. It doesn't always have to be the one time CNBC talks about energy, for example. There could be an energy pod, right?
Yeah. They have more than 250,000 paying subscribers, by the way, which generated an estimated over 15 million euros in subscription revenue.
Wow.
So I think we need to build some kind of, not necessarily like a subscription business, but when you have decent revenue coming in, I think you can start allocating stuff like that. They have over 750 million episode views.
Yeah, and they definitely run lean. Like they probably take home a lot of cash.
We
and then
gotta-
they want to use that to invest.
We got to run a similar playbook. That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Invest in our friends' startups and all this cool deal flow that we see in cool companies that we research, right?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Okay, in the world of emerging leagues, I'm going to run through this pretty quickly. Scott Coker, founder of Strikeforce and former Bellator MMA CEO, is now a co-founder and CEO of a new, still unnamed global MMA league. They raised $60 million in initial financing, led by Creator Sports Capital, Griffin Gaming Partners participating, Upper Deck, the trading card company, which I think is interesting, Steve Kaplan, DC United owner, Oaktree Capital co-founder, a few other team owners, Tony Hawk, the legendary skateboarder, among many others. But basically, this new MMA promotion is a fighter-first pitch targeting athletes across 40-plus countries who lack a clear pathway to career advancement. and just for some more market context, the UFC UFC's parent company, TKO, just locked a 7-year agreement with Paramount, valuing it at a $7.7 billion deal. That's roughly over $1 billion per year in media rights. And kind of macro stuff that's happening. MVP, Most Valuable Promotions, Jake Paul's company, and Netflix, they're cooking up some stuff. 12.4 million global average viewers for its first MMA card on Netflix, peaking at near 17 million, and generated a decent couple $1 million at the gate as well. There's some macro stuff. I know when we were talking about this off camera, you were saying there has been a lot of saturation in the space, but what do you think? You think this is going to work? You don't think this is going to work? Break some hearts here if you have.
No, I'm not going to break any hearts. I actually think this has an interesting approach. As you're seeing, promotion-based boxing has always either been pay-per-view, now it's on streaming and broadcast. But if you think about it, like the new generation sees streaming and broadcast almost like it's pay-per-view, right? Because it is a pretty expensive product to get. A lot of these newer generations are more interested in getting like free content because there's just so much free content overall. That's the whole emerging league strat. And I think this is what this is just going to be. I think it's just going to be an MMA league that's mass distributed. If they put a paywall on this, who's going to watch it? Because they would rather just watch an MVP where there's a bunch of celebrities that are involved in these celebrities, major players, big public personas that are involved within the production and within the fight, or the UFC, which is the premium MMA product, right? If you want mass distribution and make this really solidified, and at the same time, make sure that these athletes across 40 plus countries get the clear pathway to career advancement. Put them in the limelight. Make sure that everyone can watch it. I think we do free distribution on YouTube, similar to almost every other emerging league that we talk about. I think this has legs.
Completely agree. Give us the industry spotlight. You did this one for this week.
Yes. So I was reading this Front Office Sports article, and they were shouting out these two Brown undergraduates who have now recently just graduated, Charlie Pliner and Nicholas Rohrman. They actually are credited for creating 2 sports business courses at Brown University. So they've been huge sports heads, wanted to get involved in the sports business space. Brown University is very interesting because they actually have an open curriculum. You can essentially take whatever classes you want. You can essentially
construct your own
construct your own curriculum, your own degree, and make your own classes. Like I think one of them literally has like a global sports business degree, but like that doesn't really exist like anywhere else, but they created themselves. And so I believe Charlie, he actually had a FIFA internship. And so he was able to, leverage this internship to, gain more connections in the space. And he wanted to bring that network to Brown. So it wasn't just creating his own course, which is, by the way, unbelievable for an undergraduate. So shout out Charlie and Nicholas for doing that. They've been able to get, their guest roster includes Celtics president Brad Stevens, Rich Paul, who runs Clutch Sports, Fenway Sports Group leadership. At the same time, a lot of private equity investors. I believe the head of Dynasty and the former founder of Providence, Providence Equity, was also a guest. And so this class is actually quite holds a lot of star power. But at the same time, they built out an alumni network with Brown Sports Network. And the reason why I'm shouting this out, because I think this is just overall awesome. They facilitated a partnership with the Jets and image vendor SmartFrame. And we'll get into that later because Charlie is actually betting on himself, and I want to give him a shout out here. But the first thing that I want to say about all of this is that I think that more students should be taking bigger swings like this. I think that the way that sports works is a lot of it is like feels gatekept, but in reality, there is a cultivation of young talent who are just doing things and are just breaking walls to make things happen. And a lot of people, especially the big timers like the Rich Pauls and the Brad Stevens of the world, really appreciate. And so if you can do and take those steps, I think that the world is your oyster, especially in the sports business space, because we're seeing 2 undergrads that are doing that. And Charlie is taking a step further. He just graduated. I think Nicholas is going into investment banking at Centerview, which is one of the top investment banks in the world. So shout out to Nicholas. But Charlie started Pliner & Co., which is his own sports advisory fund.
First of all, sounds very similar to our origin stories after graduating college. You went investment banking. I went to start my own company, not in the sports space, but pretty cool to see.
No, exactly. It's kind of
patterns,
like
right?
very, very much aligned. And so, I mean, more people should do this. And the fact that he doesn't have any sports experience And
like,
he was
like compared to people who normally start advisory firms in the
yeah.
space.
I mean,
with
he has
20
plenty of sports experience, but he doesn't have any corporate work.
Yeah, and
he hasn't worked for a team. He hasn't worked for a league. I mean, same with us, but like he hasn't worked for a team.
I
a
worked
league,
in the space.
Oh yeah, you did, but for a year. But like at the same
more
time,
than a year.
more than a year.
At
A year,
Fanatics.
yeah, at Fanatics. Yeah,
all right,
sure.
This is about them. Why
No,
are you
I
turning this
know,
on
I
them?
know. I don't know. I mean, you're bringing it up about us. I'm not here to talk about us. But so what I'm saying is that like with limited experience, right? Like very young people, he was still able to build out his own sports advisory fund. And it's going to be hard, right? Like a lot of people are going to be like, yo, like you're 22, 23 years old. Like how can you be advising on these things? But I think a lot of it just has to do with not only about betting on yourself, but it's putting yourself out there, getting the right doors, meeting the right people, and making those connections happen. I'm telling you, I think he can actually do a phenomenal job. The fact that he's already done something with the Jets and bringing an image vendor to the Jets at the same time, announcing partnerships with Chelsea, Minnesota Vikings, and Boston Legacy FC for their Brown Sports network. I think that he's got a great platform and a great journey ahead of him. So shout out to Charlie, shout out to Nicholas. These guys are crushing it, and just awesome to see young people that are really taking big swings in our space.
Love it. I love this. All right, moving on to the world of collectibles, new segment because we had to cover and include it in this week's show. It's exploding, literally. So 4 different headlines. I'm going to run through quickly. Don't need to give much of an analysis here because the titles and headlines speak for themselves. So in a single week, Fanatics Collect brokered a Victor Wembanyama rookie card for $5.1 million. Insane. Okay. It's a 2023-2024 Panini Prism 1 of 1 Black Parallel rookie card PSA 10. It's the most expensive non-autographed NBA card ever and the 4th highest NBA card ever on Card Ladder.
They think he's going to be the GOAT.
Yeah, the previous that should be another soundboard right there, sound effect right there, the GOAT or something like that. We should play around with that. A legend. We have a legend, so we have to.
Yeah, it's true.
For now, that's enough. Previous Wemby high was $860,000. Insane. Okay, and then Josh Allen, moving from the NBA to the NFL now, had a $1.35 million card just got sold. A 2025 Topps Chrome Honors MVP Award Gold NFL Shield Patch Auto 1 of 1 redemption card. First of all, I got to get better at these. Like, I want to go down these rabbit holes because this space actually fascinates me. But it's interesting. It was also sold via Fanatics Collect, which is interesting. The Fanatics Collect and the team over there, shout out to them. They've been crushing it. They're over everything. So it's sold for $1.35 million, like I said, after 41 bids. Here's the thing. The physical card doesn't even exist yet. So they got the rights and kind of the buyers purchase a redemption for a card to be produced, it's fascinating. Allen becomes the 5th NFL player with a $1 million plus card per Fanatics. Mahomes has a $4.3 million one. Brady has nearly a $4 billion one. Justin Herbert has nearly a $2 billion one. And Burrow has a $1.7 million one. And it smashed Allen's prior record for a trading card with $288,000. Fascinating, right?
Fascinating. I think a lot of it also might have to do with the fact that Fanatics and Topps just got the NFL rights, so that might even boost the hype for a card like this, and while they're willing to purchase it without even it existing yet. So
yeah,
pretty nuts though for something that like hasn't been made.
Okay, so we had basketball, we had football, and now we have what some people might say the real football. I'm not causing any drama though, but aka soccer. Ronaldo also had a $1 million plus card that got sold this past week. I forgot we had that one. That was perfect. A 2018 Panini Kaboom green 1 of 1 for his Juventus era. It was a PSA 10 sold privately via Fanatics Collect. Another Fanatics Collect banger. Most expensive Ronaldo card ever. Second most expensive soccer card behind the $1.5 million Messi 2004.
A legend.
Mega Cracks rookie. Just ahead of the $1.3 million Pele rookie card. The previous Ronaldo high was a $420,000 high, by the way. So nuts.
Wow.
Okay, but it wasn't.
Whoa, it was only 420. That's a little bit surprising for.
You would have thought
it'd
be
popular. Yeah,
I agree with that. And you would have thought that all of this, the news in the space was all good stuff. There was actually one. I think it's kind of funny, but maybe it's really not that funny. It's just interesting that this happens in the space. But Brazil. There was a stick in the country of Brazil. There was a sticker seizure of nearly 200,000 fakes of counterfeited 2026 World Cup Panini album stickers, plus a couple fake Brazil jerseys. the Department of Suppression of Crimes is saying this is a breach of intellectual property. They're being forensically analyzed and destroyed, and the investigation's ongoing.
Wow.
The Brazilian police are warning buyers about widespread fake sticker scams. So hope everything gets resolved over there. Pretty fascinating that this happened, is honestly from just like a objective lens that there is such a black and counterfeit market for all this hype and the great headlines that we do see. So yeah, hope it gets resolved.
Hey, the more counterfeit that comes out, it honestly boosts the value of all the PSA grade cards, right? That's the way that I see it, right? Because it's like, hey, you actually got a hand on the real one while everyone has all the fake ones. So,
Yeah.
But kind of funny that they seized that many like
Wild,
fake
right?
stickers plus fake
And Brazil is a
jerseys.
huge soccer country as well. So
Yeah.
interesting to see that. Hope it all gets resolved. All right,
Hopefully
moving-
no one got scammed from that too.
Yeah,
That's probably that's
true. That
another
would've
story.
sucked.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would suck.
Moving on to our last segment, we're workshopping this, but Professor Paramanu, when is Amazon delivering your beard and your glasses
my
and your
beard?
lab coat and your whiteboard? You are really teaching us AP prediction markets, so I feel like you need all of the things that go along with it.
That is true. That is true. The beard will be coming in soon. At some point in time,
Did
you
you even
will be
order it
seeing
yet?
a full professor in the mix. I'm deciding on what beard that I want to get.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel like it's not that
It
hard.
could either be a long one or it could be a short one. I could look like Dumbledore here. Who knows? Who knows? But yes, it's AP prediction markets. Essentially, I'm going to break down a news story, a tweet, and then kind of give my whole context or take on why this is important, especially in the prediction markets, and at the same time, illuminating what's happening. And, there's so much stuff that happens. It's hard for us to just cover everything that's going on in prediction markets. There's newsletters that I'd recommend checking out, like Events Horizon by Dustin Gauker. That's a good one.
Shouted
that I
him
use.
out like
I've
40 times. In the
I've
last,
shouted him
like-
once, but I'm saying if you want the full rundown, he gives it to him. It's a little bit biased, but there's a lot of others that you can do that. But here, I'm just going to break down something unique and interesting. So Matt Kalish, like you mentioned, DraftKings president, he was actually on a podcast recently, and this is what he said, and this was a big tweet. He said, "There's not a sports book in the U.S. who's not building an exchange right now. DraftKings, FanDuel, Fanatics, MGM. DraftKings actually just acquired a company called Railbird, and it's basically the exact same thing as Kalshi. That's the whole reason I don't think Kalshi has anything durable here. Once the competition's there, I'm going to decimate them, or they're going to decimate.
Wow.
They're going to be decimated."
Okay, wow.
So essentially, he was saying that every single sports book is building a prediction market. That's going to be too much competition for Kalshi to handle. At some point in time, they're not going to be growing as fast as they are growing. If you actually look at their numbers right now, they're 32x plus over the last year when it comes to trading volume, and they're hitting $178 billion in annualized volume based on just what happened in April. Cumulative volume is around $52 billion. So I decided to take a little bit dive on what's going on, and DraftKings actually did acquire Railbird, which is an exchange. They're actually building out an in-house exchange right now. Recent news came out that at some point in time, they won't have to rely on a third party for their predicts platform. So all of these actually have prediction apps. Same with FanDuel Predicts, but FanDuel is partnered with CME. Similar with DraftKings, they partner with CME too, which is also a full-blown exchange that you can make predictions on. But the way that it works is that prediction markets, you make money off of the take rate of the trade volume. Usually it's around 1% to 2%. For FanDuel Predicts, it's 2%. They invested $300 million for this product. It's 2% take rate, $300 million invested, and at the same time, they only get 50% of gross revenue. So I did the calculations, and if you have $300 million at a 1% take rate, you have to have $30 billion in trading volume just to break even on their investment building out a predictions product.
Wow.
$30 billion. That's like what, 50% of Kalshi's like current or cumulative trading volume. In just 2025 alone, they did 48 billion. So there's this clear first mover advantage that Kalshi has where they have so much trading volume, so many institutional investors that are partaking in this platform. At the same time, they have mass marketing. I was actually looking at all the partnerships that they've had, and it's pretty mind-blowing. They're integrated in Robinhood, Coinbase. So they're fully on like the retail brokerage accounts. At the same time, they just did the MSG partnership. NHL, they have one with Chicago Blackhawks. They're on CNN, CNBC, and Fox Corp. They have all the integrations with all the news channels. So they're pretty much ubiquitous. That's a hard push to get $30 billion in trading volume for these sportsbook apps that don't have the same like investment, or this is like an investment grade exchange that Kalshi has. So I want to disagree with Matt Kalish. I think that's like a significant number to hit just to break even. And one thing that's really important to consider, and this is the last point that I want to make, FanDuel and DraftKings are public companies. meaning that there are public shareholders that are actively, checking quarter after quarter how much money that they're making, how profitable these products are, and they're actually very profitable right now. Or like they're on the profitability inflection point. A lot of these sports books were running at a loss because they're spending a lot of money on customer acquisition. Now they figured out the whole LTV to CAC ratio, which is lifetime value to customer acquisition cost. The higher that it is, the more money that you make off your customers and your sports bettors. And they've hit that point. They're all hitting a net income profit instead of a net loss. And at some point in time, how much money can they burn to build out this prediction markets product that's actually competitive to Kalshi? And it's going to require a lot of money and a lot of spend in marketing when they have a clear product that makes a lot of money with their iGaming and their sports books. So overall, I disagree with you, Matt. I do think that sports books overall are going to do actually quite well. And I write about this in my newsletter that's coming out today.
In a few hours, actually.
Yeah, a few hours. Today's Thursday, by the way, where I kind of go in depth about this. But I think overall, you want to put money where you have the highest returns, and that's going to be the sports books and the casino products. It's not going to be the prediction markets for the sports books like DraftKings and FanDuel. So overall, I think the prediction markets will continually be, taken over by the first movers who were Kalshi and Polymarket. But I do think that the sports books and casino, based on just recent financials that I've been seeing, are quite robust, and you should continue investing in that as well.
That was probably my favorite AP prediction market so far. You were concise. You didn't give a history lesson. You kept the students engaged. Producer Pablo, I think, was engaged. You have to give him a quiz next time.
I do have to give Pablo a quiz. Well, I'll give you a quiz. I'll give you a quiz on what the structure of fan. You're getting a quiz literally right after this. But next one, I'll give a quiz on the difference between DraftKings predicts and FanDuel predicts.
Yeah, me and Sid will.
We're going to study.
Better.
All right. Well, I think we crushed. Great job. I think we're just getting better each time.
Yeah, this is always a fun thing to do every week. So
yeah. So our next couple goals are to work our way up to a live stream, right?
Work our way up to a live stream. Make sure the flow is even better. At the same time, making sure it's consistent time. I don't know if you've been seeing our times, but it's like 1 hour 20 this one, 1 hour 10 this one. We're trying to make sure that it's always consistent, so it's
get
easy
it
for
down
you guys
to an
take
hour-ish. Less than an hour is probably the feedback that we're getting from the people that are watching this and our friends. So we're going to continue trying to do that. I think as we program it more per week, we can get it to multiple times, or maybe the ideal time frame that we want, so we can include all the information that we want to cover,
and at
not
the same
jam
time,
pack it into one.
We're going to bring on guests at some point too.
Yeah.
There's we're getting a lot of demand already. We just got to make sure that we do it the right way.
back-end processes
the back-end processes are set up. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Signing off for fourth quarter, and we'll see you next week.